Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 825. Got my numbers mixed around. Recorded today on the 20th of November. I can't believe I'm suddenly thinking, oh my goodness, Christmas is coming. How terrifying. And I'm sorry, every single ad break in the UK is just wall-to-wall Christmas ads. And I'm just thinking, I'm not ready. I don't want it. But anyway, we'll hopefully provide a sort of some brief interlude and respite from the Christmasness with Sonic Talk, which is a podcast that is dedicated to all things music technology, synthesizers, programming, drum machines, software, DAWs, live performance, live streaming, distribution, just a bit of video, everything you could think of, anything to do with creation and consumption of music of an electronic kind, generally speaking. Anyway, I want to say thank you very much to our friends in the chat. Got a fulsome chat room there. Nice to see Battery Operated Orchestra. Don't forget, they've got a gig coming up on the 30th of November in London. I'll post a link to that now. In fact, I might be able to post it quickly now, which would probably be good because I said I would, and then I can post that. That means the link will go. There we go. Boo Gig in London. If you want to check that out, they're very excited about it. They're supporting Strange Gravity, or on the bill with Strange Gravity. Anyway, so do check that out. Also, yes, thanks to Wagyu for monitoring the chat and also the other stuff that he does, which is just legion for many of us who stream, moderating, and also a lot of background programming. And I see Nick Howes as well, The Kissing Machine, Cornish Waves Music, Jack, Tim Dale, hey Tim, Thomas Yon, loads of people. I want to say also, if you're a Patreon supporter, we're going to be doing our hangout at, I think it's going to be on the 1st of November, 1st of December, because the last Sunday would be this weekend and I'm not ready. So if you've got any ideas for a theme, please drop them in and we'll consider them, and we're trying to theme them a bit more to give us a bit more targeting. Anyway, we're also on BlueSky, I should add. We launched yesterday, figured out how to automatically post our news items there. So if you want to follow us there, feel free to do so, because I know some people don't want to use X or Facebook or whatever. This is just another platform, and it's no extra work for us now. I've actually figured out how to do it, so do follow us there. I'll post the link in the notes and everything. So, excuse me, I've got a new voiceover for the Patreon odds, so I think I'll play that now. So I'll just take a quick break for that. Let me tell you about our Patreon. Much of our content is posted ad-free, so you don't have to put up with pesky YouTube ads like this one. There's Sonic Talk pre-show. We post exclusive video content for our reviews. We're adding videos from our archives. We host a monthly Superstar Hangout. There's also a brilliant members map to see where you are in the world. We have a growing set of sounds and samples, impulse responses from classic unusual reverbs, plus a new decent sampler template that sounds fantastic. In fact, the music you're listening to now by Paulee was made using our sample sets. So if you want to support what we do and get more, head over to patreon.com/Sonicstate. Yes, indeed. And we appreciate those who already support us. And if you're still thinking about it, go ahead. Gosh, that was quite hyped, wasn't it? I didn't realise I'd spoken it so fast. It sounds like I've time stretched myself, like you get at the end of those legal disclaimer at the ad where they find it. I remember in US radio, didn't they? They kind of, when they did financial stuff or medical things, someone figured out that you could time stretch all the T's and C's at the end and go and that, yeah, I wasn't. It was all natural. I did it in one take almost as well. Anyway, lovely to hear chuckles from our panel. So we'll start over here with Richard Nicol, who's there from Pittsburgh Modular in his home studio, where he's been. Well, you've got a new album out, Richard, which I'm very pleased to say.
I do have a new album out. It's on my Bandcamp page, and it's my first solo album. Although it's, I've made music years and years ago, but it's really the first music that I've produced that isn't sort of a commercial for one of our products in a long, long time. And I'm very proud of it. I've made a couple videos that I posted up on YouTube, and I think it's kind of fun. It's sort of, it definitely sounds, it has a sort of ambient house kind of vibe to it, maybe a little bit darker in places, but I think it's fun. It was a heck of a lot of fun to make and sort of enjoy the instruments as instruments and not as problems to solve.
Yes, I can imagine it must have been nice to use them just for that, rather than I must now demonstrate the envelope somehow. Yeah, I know what you mean. But still, I mean, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because when you're in that mode, I mean, I'm doing it all the time. It's like I'm playing away. And it's like, oh right, now I need actually to kind of make something that demonstrates a feature of the synth, and it sort of makes, I guess it's a creative brief. It works all right. But anyway, do check that out. It's really good, actually. And I was trying to say it was better than I expected in a sort of non-patronising and kind way, but I mean, it really is good. So do check that out. Oh dear, I should stop talking soon. Paulee, save me. Paulee Bow from Magical Synth Adventure. They're in Birmingham. Surrounded by ancient digital technology. How are you?
Yeah, I know. It's cool. I'm not too bad. I've got a really exciting thing coming up. So Robin from Molten Modular, he's asked me to do a live set with him, which is going to be, together at the Synth East event, which is going to be in February. Nice. So I've got like one track I'm starting to put together. You know, my Wicked game cover. I'm going to do that with some modular stuff, and send Robin a clock so he can put some weird stuff over it. But no, it's very exciting.
Smart move by Robin. Robin's noodles are really nice, but they're kind of modular based stuff. I don't know how song based they are, so very smart to ask someone who's a songwriter to be involved, so that it'll have all of that structure and a built-in memorable melody. Good move, Robin. Yeah,
cool.
Well,
but,
good. That'd be
a lot
great.
of fun for me as well. So yeah, and in preparation for it, I was deciding what instruments do I use, and I've actually got a couple of new modules, and we've got a lot of modular people on today, so I thought I'd just show very quickly
why not? Let me
what Paulee's picked up this month. So the first one, which I think is going to be the key to the live set, and I'll see if it autofocuses, is this Tesseract Vinia, which is not only an 8-channel MIDI interface, which is really useful because I'm going to be using the MC101 to send channels of MIDI out. But it's got loads of stuff built in: oscillators, a ladder filter emulation, wave shapers, all sorts. So I've just been noodling with that for the last couple of days, and it's nice to integrate digital and analog things together. I think that's what excites me. And the other one I got, which I'm not sure I'm going to use, is the new the Gothaman Touch Tool, which again, very similar. It's got sequencers, oscillators, but that one's got some very extreme effects on it, like distortions, phase shifters, things like that. So, but of course, yeah, the Gothaman vibe, Gothaman tones. So
I do. Yes, I do.
So that's going to be fun.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Paulie. I should also mention, I didn't mention, Paulie's got a review of the Lewitt Ray coming up, the microphone, and also, if you haven't already caught it, and this was kind of on the performance tip, Mid-Era Chris, he's filmed an interview with Scanner in Brighton. It's just been posted. Yes. It posted a couple of days ago. Some really interesting stuff in there. He's using the Zoom L6 and also Black Box, the 1010 Music Black Box and stuff. So very interesting for performance, very useful.
Definitely.
Just a general chat with him about how he puts a show together. Anyway, right, final guest today, tea drinking synthesist. I'm guessing it's tea. I mean, it might be coffee or water.
It is
Matt
tea.
Hodson, aka Maths. How are you, Matt?
It is tea. Good? It's too early for me. Actually, I haven't had a beer in a few weeks, so I'm enjoying my tea at the minute. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, hey. Nice to be back. Just been busy with, but actually I've been doing a lot of videos recently. I was just trying to remind myself what I've done recently. I've just done a 3-part series with this clank system, the Oracle system, which is really cool. So go check those out. And I did a video on some distortion, the 100 Grit by Schlappy Engineering. Did a live stream recently. I've actually, I've just been in video mode, actually. I've been recording loads of stuff. I've just done a video, actually, where I think I've been AI'd, where I'll explain it in the video, but it's quite an interesting one, which came from getting a copyright strike by, I believe, some AI music that has copied me, but I'm getting penalised for it. You'll see in the video. And what else am I doing? I'm going to do a Christmas. I'm getting in the spirit, Nick. I'm ready for Christmas this year already. And I'm actually having a Christmas cracker special, math special live stream. And I'm inviting some guests on throughout the day. It's a live stream. Heimbach's going to be joining me, Gaz, Milo Melodies, and a few other people are just going to be dropping in and having a glass of wine with me live on air. And we're going to be chatting about the past year and gadgets and geeking out and what's coming up in the new year.
Have you got a date for that?
Stay tuned for the date for that. The date, it's probably going to be just around, a couple of days before Christmas, something like that.
Good idea.
And I've got a live stream with Circuit Happy after this about 5:30 on my channel as well.
Oh, great.
Yes, so that's on. I'll put that up there. That's maths. So that is Circuit Happy. Yeah, nice one. Is that the missing link and that stuff? Is that what they made?
The missing link, yeah.
So
you'll see it. We're going to talk about it, but it's a very clever module. I've talked about it loads before. It's the heart of my clocking of my system because you've got Ableton Link, you've got MIDI clock, you've got CV and gate. It's 2 HP, and I'm really interested about how he's put it together actually because it uses the Ableton Link API, which he's obviously utilised, put on a chip, put it in a module, and it's the ultimate for syncing. It really is. It's brilliant. So we're going to be chatting about that in a bit more detail later on.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Good stuff. APIs. I'm all over APIs. I use a lot of. I've been doing a lot of that. Like I say, I've been getting the BlueSky. Did I mention that we're on BlueSky now? Yeah.
You did.
I use a platform called Make.com, which is a bit like If This Then That, but much better. We use it for loads and loads of things now. I've migrated all the things that I used to run on If This Then That and Zapier and all those other things. If you're used to those things, and it just allows you to connect APIs, commands, RSS feeds, webhooks, all that kind of stuff. It's really useful for joining stuff together, and we use it for loads of things now. It's really powerful. Anyway, that's really not what we're talking about. I played the Patreon ad, didn't I? So I suppose we could get into some topics. Are we going to go straight in with the heavy hitters? I think we probably should. Ready? Let's go. Oh yeah. Teenage Engineering OPXY. Every time Teenage Engineering releases anything that's more than $300, the world catches fire. And this is the new machine. This sounds a bit like Macarena, does it not? At this point.
In a minor key.
Yeah. This is the interesting part.
They don't want me. They can't have me.
He's not doing the Macarena dance, and it's all very dark and noir, which is their want. But the thing that's interesting about this, apart from the gyroscopics thing, is this brain, the kind of musical brain, the idea that you can. It's got arrangement follow. So there's been some really good videos. I think Ricky Tinez did a really good one as well, where you could just load. So this is the new Teenage Engineering OPXY. It's a lovely thing. It's not cheap. It's £18.99 UK pounds. So it's more than the OP1 Field, but I think it's got 16 tracks of sequencing. It's got 8 synth engines. It's got tape. I mean, there's a load of stuff there, and their literature for it is extremely obscure because you read it and it doesn't give you any facts, and then you find that all these other information points later on that or in different pages at different places. And the thing that I didn't really get to begin with was so you can create like we all do, effectively, a sort of 4-bar pattern and go, yeah, that's cool, and then don't know what to do with it. But this has got this idea of using it's a brain which allows you to play chords on maybe one of the synth tracks, which will then affect the key and the transposition of the other tracks. And when you record that, the track will move to follow it. So you can immediately create more bars or more useful arrangements, and that's something that I think is quite new. So yeah, we'll get over the fact that everybody's going to say hipster nonsense and all of those things, and yes, to a degree there is that point, but most people who have OPs of some description or most teenage engineering equipment tend to really evangelize about it, and there's no surprise there. I mean, I think my original OP1 review, which was way back in the day, when that was about £600 or £700, obviously it's a lot more expensive now. That's done, I don't know, 1 million views or something on YouTube. So people are fascinated, and it was consistently in our top 10 videos, even sort of 10 years later. So it's crazy. I don't know. What does everybody think about this? I mean, teenage engineering, it's a bit of a Marmite type thing. I'll come to you, Richard, because you're the designer. I mean, you probably appreciate the design of them at the very least, and possibly more.
No, of course, this thing is gorgeous, and I don't think it's overpriced at all. I think you are getting a beautiful instrument that's very well crafted and very well put together for your money. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think what this does is add these sequencers to the engines of the teenage engineering workflow. So you have these 8 synth engines, which I think are quite deep, where you have essentially 4 controls for each oscillator in the engine, where you can set different parameters, but then you also have your envelopes and your filters and your modulators and your effects on top of that. So the creating sounds can get quite deep, but on top of that, the sequencing is what really grabbed me. The idea that you can have these 64-step sequences, but then there's sort of sequences on top of sequences on top of sequences, where you can add layers of these different effects that they have, like the different step components, where you can do things like every time this step plays, it ramps up 1 note within the scale. I found that really interesting, but it has the tape recorder, which isn't quite the same as it was on the OP1. This is more of an effect where you sort of jump from the live voice to a recorded version of it, what it's played in the recent past. And you can then manipulate it by changing the speed of the tape and all these things. And I thought, boy, this is really, really well done. I don't think every flagship synth has to have a piano duct tape to it to make it worth the money. I think this instrument is really inspiring to use. It's very direct. It looks very easy. I was reading through the manual, and you're kind of right about the documentation. The documentation's sort of a little bit all over the place. But I think it's that way on purpose, because it's meant to be very hands-on and very easy to use. I did have a couple little things with some of the UI. When you get into the several layers deep, it looks like maybe they had added that after they did the graphics, because the graphics didn't really match up with the effects that you're putting on. But beyond that, I don't know. I think this thing is fantastic. And if Teenage Engineering wants to send me one, I would be happy to make some videos for it.
Interesting. Well, they want to send me one, and the thing is I don't use OP1 at all, so it would be a completely standing start to review, and I just think I don't know if I've got enough time in my life to be able to get the most out of it without just skimming it over. So I'm looking to try, and I'm trying to make that work. But it's very interesting. I mean, I think you can see just in the chat already, there's a lot of it's very Marmite. A lot of people saying it isn't cheap. I mean, I suppose the thing that it's because it's small as well, it sort of seems like it seems way more overpriced than it is. But let's face it, it's not the table. The table that I did feel was a bit of a con. And this does seem expensive, but I mean, maybe it's expensive because it is expensive. It looks like it's made of good stuff. I know, Matt, I don't know if you've enjoyed the teenage feel. I mean, the KO2, I really like that. And I think that's a great piece of work. And it's very affordable, and it's designed to a price, and it works well.
Yeah, don't forget with this, you can also buy the leather pouch for 250 quid as well. So it's not quite there with the table, but 250 quid for a pouch. I mean, it's quite a bit. But Yeah, I think Richard just absolutely just nailed that. Everything that he said, I totally agree with. I think I'm much more into the sequencer capabilities of this and what this offers. I love sequencers that offer you idea generation and offer you something more than just put your steps in and there's your notes. You know, the fact that this has those abilities to kind of input a very simple melody, groove, whatever, and then also, I guess, kind of be generative with it without having to think about it too much. That's what I like from sequencers. I really like that, and that might just because I'm lazy in my sequencing and I want something to do the work for me, or it might be that I don't know how to achieve a particular groove or effect or whatever. And then when you've got something that offers it and goes, well, let me do that for you, then that's great. I would really expect that. In terms of the synthesis engine, it's really good, but I don't think I would use it so much because by the looks of it, that the interface looks very much kind of orientated around using it as a sequencer, so you don't need to do much menu diving. For the synthesis aspect, it looks to me like you have to do more of that, which is what put me off from the original OP1 in the first place, was actually the interface and the design. And I know a lot of people go crazy for the OP1 design. Not for me. It just there was a big barrier for my connection with it, just because of how it was laid out and the menu diving, and it didn't work for me. I'm always about functionality over how something looks as well. So these things are beautiful, but I would rather use something that looks like a tent that's been left at Glastonbury and it's half broken. As long as it does the job for me, I'd rather use something that looks like that than spend 1,800 quid on something that looks aesthetically beautiful. It really means nothing to me to have anything in my studio that I'm making music with that looks aesthetically beautiful, although they kind of just do it themselves. I know, and I'm here anyway, Nick, so I make up for that myself.
Of course, Matt. Very nicely rounded off there, I have to say. A beautiful link there. Very well done. Paulee, I don't know what you think about this. I mean, you're known for your love of somewhat obscure UIs. I don't know how obscure the OP1 or the OP field is to use. I mean, I remember when I reviewed it, it did take a little bit of getting used to, and I think it's maybe a Scandinavian thing that sort of there's an aesthetic to the UIs that they generally make, and obviously there is to the teenage stuff, and they're very deep into design. It does look, I mean, people seem to be saying good stuff about it, but there is an element of, if you spent that much money on it, you're going to, you are continually trying to justify it to yourself. But I think the OP1 format has been around for such a long time that people are still saying they think it's great, even though, it's already kind of paid for itself, or, it is no longer an expensible expenditure. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm just going to seek into a little story about a synth meet that I once had in a nice little cafe in Bearwood, just down the road from me. And loads of people bought synths, and one guy bought a case of IntelliGel stuff. I bought my OB6. We were all there chatting, blah, blah, blah. No one really spoke to the guy with the OP1 in the corner, sadly. And that's always stuck out for me as the kind of whenever I think teenage engineer and I think of that story, and I think, oh, maybe we should have gone and spoke to him, but there we go. I've got lots of thoughts on this, and all of them really is me struggling to understand why anyone would want this. So I'm gonna, without being unfair or harsh, I'm gonna just try and think a few different things. So the first thing for me is that the anything generative to me is a bit of a turn off. So that I find that quite interesting, because I always want to just put down the notes in my head into a sequencer and not really have much in the way of interference with my notes that I've already written, putting it down. So that's kind of struck off one thing for me right there. Although there's a lot of parameter automation, so that's cool. I do like, random parameter automation. where different elements come in and out and effects and stuff like that. And that can be random, but I don't like my notes being messed with.
No, okay, fair enough.
So we move on to the synths, and the UIs are beautiful. There's one with a hairdryer shooting laser guns rays. There's one with a little slinky going down the stairs. But when you actually listen, I think, was it Oscillator Sync did a great video on this instrument and all the different engines. They're so basic, these engines. I think the most kind of complex one is the wavetable one, where you can hit random and get some kind of, atonalness and inharmonicity to your sounds. But the rest of them sound very vanilla, and to me, I spend money on digital for exoticness, basically. I might spend a lot of money on quite a simple analog instrument because that's chasing tone, isn't it? And old components. But I feel that it's not exotic or weird enough to garner the money in that case. So
okay,
I like the UI. I don't like the synths. I don't like the sequencer. And as for the build quality, we'll just have to see, basically, because I remember so many OP1s being people complaining about them breaking and, on the forums back then. So we'll kind of have to see. I think the
headphone jack, wasn't it? The headphone jack used to...
and some of the buttons and stuff like that. So right, okay. Hopefully they've got that together. But yeah, it's really, really just not for me at all. And I hope I haven't been too unkind, but those were my thoughts. Not every instrument's going to suit everyone, is it?
I'm intrigued. I think that the sequencer in the KO2 was very interesting to use, as was... It reminds me of it was the Korg 64 sequencer. I can't remember what it was. That had some really nice real-time sort of probability and triggers and repeats. And when you bring that close to the surface, it actually more for beats really than anything else. It's very it is a very clear thing. So I think that's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that rolls. I'm just going to take a quick break and we'll be back after this message from our friends. Introducing Plasma by iZotope. Intelligent, intuitive saturation. With groundbreaking flux saturation technology, Plasma adaptively enhances your tracks by applying saturation precisely where and when it's needed, ensuring a dynamic and polished sound. Unlike traditional saturators that apply a static effect, Plasma's dynamic processing ensures your mix or master sounds consistently balanced and professional. Whether you're looking to quickly warm up your sound or douse your track in secret sauce, Plasma's intuitive interface and easy-to-use controls have you covered. And yes, you can use this on everything. And don't forget, you can save 10% by using the code SONIC10 at checkout. Once again, we thank iZotope for the continued support of the show. Back to our guests. Just one little addition there. VP says via YouTube, just be happy they're not selling us 8 wooden dolls, which was kind of freaky, I must admit. So that's fair enough. I mean, there's no doubt that they are a controversial company and they will continue to be so, but it works for them. I mean, they are, when you see, if you listen to other kind of more music podcasts about technology outside of the music technology realm, as I do, they come up quite often because of they're renowned for their design, and they're a design house. I mean, we're fortunate that they have made. I think the OP1 and the OP format is definitely a bit of a classic. I know Gaz mentioned it's gone past that some of these features were in the OPZ, which was some time back, but that was really obscure to use. It was very, very difficult because it was so teeny tiny. I think maybe they've taken some of those concepts, developed them, and increased the accessibility and sort of brought it together, which may be a lesson they learned from the KO2, because that's very immediate to work with and very good fun. So there's a lot to that. Anyway, we'll move on because I know it's a bit like Mac versus PC conversations. People get very right. I was going to wonder about This one, okay. Let's do this one. Logic's had an update, so let's just play this one. I think that's the one I'm going to play. This is actually a video of the QRS, which is the Quantum Room Simulator. This is from Sounds Like This, which is a great YouTube concept channel. It's just sounds like this, and so Logic Pro, the latest update. I think is it 11? Oh gosh, I'm not sure. There's a bunch of new features. Anyway. I won't play the whole thing, but Quantum Room Simulator, it's really interesting. They've gone for a full-on emulation. I think that was because there's a link in with Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel used to use the Quantum Room Simulator a lot in the 80s and early 90s. Passion Sources and a whole bunch of things. It was one of the first reverbs to have a freeze function. And I actually remember we had a quantum, when I was working on CD-ROMs in Real World, there was one in the building and we brought it in and we played with it and we used it and it was really, really cool. I think it was also 4-channel, which allowed it to be quadraphonic, if I remember correctly. So this is obviously, it's quite a departure. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that they've added in the Logic upgrade. Lots of really cool workflow things like selecting and deleting, and they all seem minor, but I've seen them in operation with a few videos. That there's plenty of them out there. Track moving, can search plugin lists. A lot of people say, "Oh, I've had that in insert name of DAW for years," but Logic continues to be, even though I know it's only Apple only, a very good value proposition, because for what's it, $299, you get all of that content. Some of those synths, I know they're still the same ones that like ES1 and whatnot, but I'm still interviewing people that say, yes, I use that. It's really great. It's great. It's interesting, Matt.
Yeah.
Are you still a Logic user, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I use Logic mainly when I'm writing for moving image kind of stuff, because it just works with video so well. And Logic was kind of my first main DAW that I really got into when I was at uni, studying music production, music technology. And God, I wish it did half the things that it does now. Back then, the amount of time I used to spend, because you couldn't time stretch stuff and all that kind of stuff even at that point. And it has just got better. The value for money for what is it, like 300 quid now? And the fact that you can also kind of have it running on your iPad simultaneously, and you can, sometimes I'll have the iPad next to my modular, and I can step sequence my modular in Logic right next to the modular, and have my computer somewhere over the other side of the room, which as a workflow thing is absolutely brilliant. And of course, it's in the Apple ecosystem, so it allows you to do that. You don't really get that I don't think you really get that on any other DAWs, although I think Bitwig does offer you, no, I'm not sure it does actually. Yeah, but the iPad thing is really great. You can now export straight from here as well to your voice memos. So that's great, because usually I will so I'll render something out, and usually I chuck it into Apple Music, and then you have to wait for it to upload, and then I'll go for a walk and have a listen to it. Now it just chucks it straight to the voice memos, and it's there pretty quick. And I can walk out the door within a couple of minutes, have my headphones on, and have a listen to the mix down of what I've done. But I started using Logic more as well when they introduced the kind of Ableton clip launching aspect as well. So that for me was like, oh, right, okay. It's, Logic's catching up, because it did feel for a long time Logic was kind of lagging behind. It had a lot of UI changes, made it look a little bit sexier, great. But it didn't really start offering anything kind of really interesting. You got some of the kind of MIDI creation stuff, like the arpeggiator and the chord creation plugins that came with it. They were really nice little step up. So I'd like to see some more of that as to where they're going. And the new reverb thing that they've included in it, the Quantum Room Simulator. I was skeptical. How many more reverbs do I need? How many more reverb plugins do I need? And
it's the freeze, the drones. That's what you got to use it for. It's really
great for that. Yeah, that's what I loved straight away. I was like, oh wow, okay, this is cool. And it's a free update. You pay the one price. And that's
no
it.
subs.
I bought.
Am I? Do you have to pay a subscription on the iPad app though, don't you? If you want to use it for the iPad, or am I wrong with that?
I think so. If you want to keep updating
you
it,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the core DAW, I mean, I bought Logic over 10 years ago, and I've not had to spend any money additionally on it. Yeah, it's very good value for money.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I kind of stopped using it roughly about the time that the clip launching came in. I mean, I really should get back. I should get it installed on this machine, because one thing I did discover, it's like, when people say, oh, can you review this EQ plugin? Can you review this vocal? And it's like, I haven't got any of that content, whereas just the Apple Loops library will allow me to build kind of tracks and process things like that without having to write kind of music from scratch, which does save a bit of time. It's very interesting. I don't know, I saw you nodding along there, Richard. I'm guessing you're a Mac guy, so you've probably got Logic, and you probably have to test stuff in Logic, or, well, maybe you don't have to test stuff because you're not writing plugins, but I guess you use it, right?
I definitely use Logic. I have mostly shifted to Ableton Live at this point, but I still go back. I love the drummer in Logic, where you can just sort of pick the style and how dense the drums are, and it comes up with a MIDI drum pattern. Then it plays the sample drum machines or the drum kits, and I love that stuff, because I'll just put that on and use that as a drum machine as I'm jamming. And if I want to change the beat up, I could just move the little slider and then focus on jamming with my synthesizer. So I use that mostly. That's what I use Logic for at this point. But this reverb, I never heard of it before. I guess it's more of an English thing than it is.
It's Australian. It's actually Australian, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it was high end. I think it was high end studio. I should also say that the Behringer X32 and X Airs have the Quantec Room Simulator as a DSP plugin, so that's not exclusive to Logic.
No, but the nerdy side of this reverb is very interesting. The idea that it uses physics to do this sort of psychoacoustical resonances of the room that it's generating, that I found sort of fascinating. So you end up with all of these sounds that maybe cancel each other out here and there, and it does sound very natural and very real in a way that maybe some of the reverbs that I tend to use don't. Now, I would argue that I don't really use reverb because I want it to sound like reverb. I use reverb because I want a big wash of whatever synth I'm playing. But there is something nice about hearing voices or really anything in this, because it gives it this three-dimensional sound that I don't necessarily hear in a lot of reverb plugins. And for that, and for a free upgrade for Logic, yeah, of course, it's fantastic. I wish Logic would catch up in a lot of ways with a lot of what the other DAWs are doing. I wish they would do maybe some more AI STEM stuff. I wish they would sort of push the DAW into more modern territory. But I understand that's not what Logic is meant to be. It's sort of meant to be a meat and potatoes DAW. And for that, I think this is a pretty good upgrade.
I think you've got the stem split, though, haven't you? The AI stem splitting in Logic, which is
it demixes, yeah.
Demix, yeah.
It'll do demix, yeah. I think it will. I know, Paulie, you recently got an M1 or an M series computer, so I'm guessing you would have access to Logic. I don't know whether you bought it because it's not your main DAW, so it would seem like a luxury to splash out.
Sure. I mean, I've been a Cubase user for like ever. So Logic has always felt like this, how the other half live, you know what I mean? Because they're the biggest two, really, aren't they? I mean, these days Reaper is huge, and FL Studio and stuff like that. But back in the day, it was, are you Cubase or are you Team Logic? But this is really compelling. I am a bit of a digital algorithm nerd, as you know. And I feel that this... Was it 84? The original Quantec? It was something like that. 82
it could
or
be
84.
something like that, yeah.
Because Peter Gabriel used it on his stuff.
That's right, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
So that's the kind of sound of the Quantec. And I haven't got a chance to try a real one, so I think I might, there's another compelling thing which is pushing me towards trying out Logic. in that you can do very, very, very simple searching for plugins in the mixer.
Yes.
And also very, very simple, just quick command click to remove plugins or sends if you've got carried away with the search. And after years and years and years of having every few months to try out plugins and cut down my plugin list because all of a sudden everything isn't as easy to access anymore, search features are absolutely crucial, I feel, for plugins.
Yeah,
I know that like Reaper has
seems
it.
like such a small thing, doesn't it? But it's so obvious. I mean,
so it's great that Logic has it too now.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, fantastic. But really excited. I don't know if Logic offers any sort of trials or anything. I'll have to look into that.
I'm not sure it does actually, but that's a fair point.
Not sure.
No, I don't think so. Anyway, I thought it was worth throwing. I mean, it's free to, you know,
wonderful.
and it has to be said. You know, if you're in education, an entry level one of the Mac Minis, I think you can get them for about $399, $499.
The new
pounds
ones
or dollars plus Logic. It's a pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
the other thing,
a good
of course,
setup.
You've got GarageBand as well. So anyone watching this who's just getting into music production, you've got GarageBand, and that's free on your Mac when you get it. It's such a good stepping stone in terms of learning Logic. And once you'll get really familiar with GarageBand, you can actually turn on the expert mode. I don't know if any of you's done this, and the UI essentially it looks just like Logic. It's great. So it really does offer you those stepping stones to moving into like professional DAW territory such as Logic. It's hats off to them for that.
Yeah,
in about 2013 I was out of work, so I took on a voluntary position teaching people with disabilities or mental health problems how to use GarageBand, and that was absolutely amazing. It is a stepping stone, you know. And a few of these people made absolutely incredible stuff. It was all in Birmingham Symphony Hall. They've got like a secret studio with loads of Macs in, kind of down below in the bowels of the building. So that was absolutely a fantastic experience, you know, just teaching these people. And lots of them had different genre ideas, but GarageBand was actually able to make most of them come to life. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Interesting.
Really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. Really good stepping stone.
Okay. I think somebody mentioned that I cut off the OPXY. I may have cut, or they felt I'd cut off the OPXY discussion. Not so much. I thought it was run its course and it was time for an ad.
Do you want me to slag it off more? I'm joking.
I mean, that wasn't I just, you know, I hate to burst anybody's conspiracy theories. I mean, you know, they're always a lot of fun, but they're generally unfounded.
I think the fact that a brand and its products cause so much discussion, it is, you know, you should applaud that. I think that's great. It can be Marmite for so many people, and it causes a lot of discussion. And for some people it works, some people it doesn't. And I think that's commendable. It says to me if it creates so much kind of debate from two different sides of I like it and I don't like it, then that says to me that they're probably doing something right there. That's So my little last bit there on it.
Yeah, it's cool. Maybe they should send me one. Maybe they should send me one to see if they can win me over.
And me. Yeah, teenage.
Well,
let's all.
And then we can properly
let's all get XYs. Yeah. Sorted out, Nick.
I mean, to be fair, I would be happy to. I love all of the little recorder, the little mixer. I mean, I would love to try all of that stuff out. And if I had the money, I'd love to have it because they're just nice things. I mean, when I go to car boot sales, I buy sort of interesting little objects for, you know, cheap money, like old compasses or whatever it may be. And I just, you know, like that sort of thing. And these have that same sort of appeal, you know, but obviously are way more expensive. You know, there's no reason to. So yeah. Anyway, we'll see.
I would watch Nick Bat's Car Boot Dash. It's a new show.
Okay.
I would watch it.
Definitely.
I'll figure out if I could do that. There's a local one, Frome Market. They also sell fantastic. The top secret thing there is they sell, now if I get this right, they are basically creme brulee tarts, custard tarts with
Wow.
short crust pastry and raspberries inside. They are amongst the finest pastries
My
known to man.
goodness.
I don't know about
Anyway,
you guys,
I don't want people to. Yeah, I'll be making people hungry. I don't want to do that. Okay, well we've got a few more topics that we could get to, but before we do that, I'm just going to pop in a message from our friends, and we'll be back after this message.
I know right away when it's good for me because it makes me write something.
Complete 15, a do-it-all production bundle for endless sonic inspiration.
I did not know it could do that.
You have your low sounds, you have your mid sounds, you have your high sounds.
Create any sound imaginable.
All together, sounds nice and big.
Whatever sound your music needs, make it with Complete 15. And don't forget, you can save 10% at nativeinstruments.com with the code SONIC10. Indeed you can. Thanks very much for their support. Okay, so we got a couple of topics. I mean, obviously, we're now being inundated with Black Friday deals. I mean, it is, it seems to start earlier and earlier. This is the week. I've sort of realised that I haven't got a vehicle in place to watch those deals. I used to run a live blog where we could easily post things from just a sort of clipping program that I'd run on phones or anything. I'd just go, send that, and it would just automatically happen. I unfortunately haven't written that to the updated technology platform we use this year, so I may or may not be able to do stuff. But it does bring the question, doesn't it? It's what do we look for? What's a good things to look for during Black Friday? And I suppose as having a manufacturer here, there's probably quite a lot of pressure to sort of provide fodder for Black Friday, feel not feel left out. And as we, our sponsors regularly do this. We're sponsored by Sound Toys. They're doing Black Friday deals. We're sponsored by iZotope and Native Instruments. They will be doing. I'm sure there will be ads that will come up during those periods. So it's a very interesting period of time. And I wondered, because that. Some people just go, yeah, it's a really good time to buy software bundles and plugins. I would agree that. I would say a really good time to buy storage and consumables, things that, SSDs, screens, things that cost money that you're going to have to buy, you might be able to get sort of cheap. I just wondered what you look out for when Black Friday is approaching. But maybe first come to you, Richard, because obviously as a manufacturer, you must get under pressure under the people that distribute your products. Can you let us have X hundred or X thousand of these things that we can bang out at a low price? Or do you have to have, without getting too, I don't want you to break any trade secrets, but do you have to agree to that sort of stuff, or can you sometimes say, no, our stuff can only be discounted by X amount? I'm just curious in terms of pressure, because that must be a big push, harder for smaller manufacturers.
Oh, of course. Discounts on our products are sort of, a retailer can discount a product as much as they want within their margin. They've purchased it off of us. We don't like if they sort of dip below everybody else, but it can happen. But to do something on the lines of like a Black Friday discount or something, the retailers are expecting us to sort of initiate that and give them then a discount. So everyone is making a little bit less, but the hope is then that you sell quite a few more. Because we're so small, it doesn't happen. We don't feel the pressure too much. We haven't done it in the past. It's just, for someone as small as us, it's a lot of work to sort of get all the materials out there, make sure all the dealers are sort of in the same place and understand what's going to happen. I suspect maybe there'll be something this year from us, but I don't ever see or do anything about it. That's all handled now by Create Audio and the distribution side of things. So for me, it's just sort of business as usual. And I have, for my own personal sort of shopping, I have, my Amazon cart that I've saved a bunch of stuff in, and I just sort of keep an eye on the prices, and if they drop dramatically or they drop to the point where I feel like, okay, now I'm going to get this, I'll just pull it out and purchase that from the cart. But yeah, I think like drives and TVs and monitors, all that sort of consumable, mass-produced stuff is really where this Black Friday thing makes the most sense, and less with the sort of boutique synth industry where we don't have the margins that these guys have, so I think that's the big difference.
No, I think that's a fair point. I'm just curious. I mean, and so I think that maybe the industry understands that they're not going to squeeze you on that, because it's like there's no point, because you don't have the. I think there's been comments in the chat room. Some manufacturers obviously, when they're dropping so heavily, you just say, well, why are you charging so much in the first place? Is it just because? But there's so many dynamics, aren't there? Because it may be that there's like, okay, we've got this cubic meterage in the warehouse that we want to get rid of because we've got a new product coming out in 6 months, so we want to create the space. There's all sorts of things pushing the Black Friday deals, and it fulfills a lot of purposes and useful from that point of view, I guess, as well, which is an interesting thing. I know, Matt, I don't know, you've worked a little bit in marketing as well, and digital marketing. I mean, I guess, have you been through a Black Friday cycle? Do you know the kind of process, and what do you look for when you're purchasing?
I do, yeah. And one of the things that I will add to, I guess, what Richard was saying about, once a retailer has bought 100 of your products and they're selling them, and they can discount it as much as they want. But if you're selling direct from your website at the same time, then essentially a company kind of goes into competition with itself, because the retailer's selling it cheaper than you're selling it on your website. So that can happen. And I've known that to happen. In terms of what I'm looking for, this is when I usually log into all my accounts and have a look at what my upgrade offers are, because you usually then get, an upgrade offer on your software that you have, but now you get quite a chunk off that. So this is where I go into it. So for an example, just logged into my Sound Toys account, and it's down from $60 to $19 for me to upgrade to the new version and add the super plate reverb to it, which I don't have. So $19, I'm going to get that. The other things I look for is sound restoration tools. So like the iZotope stuff. So like I'm in this room here, it's quite echoey. I need a de-reverber plugin. I don't have one. And I've just logged in to see what my upgrade is on iZotope RX Elements. And I can get the new version for like 20 quid, and it's got the reverb in it. So I'm looking at that. I'm not only getting my kind of discount as an upgrade in a way, but I'm also getting another slice off because it's on sale. The other thing is, as you know, doing stuff on YouTube, this isn't just like a music studio anymore. This is
video like lights and stuff like that. That's always worth looking at.
Cameras, there's loads of stuff you can't see. Like even my Rodecaster, microphones, headphones, all of that. That's maybe a new lens for my camera. I'd really like one that's really sharp for the overhead images and just looks absolutely cracking. So they're the kind of things that I look at: restoration, upgrade plans. I don't really go seeking something new that I don't have. To be honest, it's not like I'm not really in a position anyway to just kind of go, I fancy getting that synthesizer now. So it's all kind of stuff that I'm investing in that enables me to do stuff just to move forward really with what I'm doing in terms of like YouTube and stuff that I'm doing for video, audio, visual, live streaming, that kind of thing. But you keep talking about, Nick, is storage. And I haven't taken that seriously for a long time. And I've got stuff all over on hard drives, under the bed, in cupboards. I don't even know if they work anymore. I don't even know if I care actually. If I've lost a load of stuff, it's kind of romantic in a way.
I know what you mean.
But there are, God, how many photos have I got in the iCloud that I'm never going to ever look at again? And how many sample libraries have I got on CDs and DVDs down there that probably don't even boot up anymore because the lifespan of the CD doesn't work anymore. So what's your storage, Nick? Do you mind sharing that with us? That might be useful as to how where are you backing up everything?
Well, we on the video edit machine, which is that one over there, we have an internal 4 terabyte SSD, which is a work drive. Then there is 2 external 4 terabyte or 3 or 4 terabyte magnetic drives, which get backed up to one and then one to the other. So there's 3. So I feel we probably over backup, to be honest, because it's just we've been burnt in the past, and it's very rare that we're going to go back to. I was speaking to Robin, I just delete it all once. I only keep the final render. I don't need the source files anymore, and I think that's probably not an unreasonable thing to do because you've also got the master on YouTube. So that's how we do it. We also use the cloud a lot, but because we are a Google Workspace organization, it means that every account we hold is allowed up to, I don't know, X terabytes of storage. So the overall shared storage that we can put in shared drives is something like 20 terabytes we've got online. So we often use cloud for working with projects, like for instance when we're doing a trade show, everything goes from the phone straight up to the cloud, edited from the cloud, then all brought down from the cloud and put onto one of these magnetic drives and sort of stored away, because you don't want to fill it up. Cloud storage is expensive, just to keep it on the go. So I don't know how far I need to go, but there is another story. Sorry, Paulie, I'm going to ask you as well. There is another story.
That's okay.
We recently were asked whether I could, an old DNA track from 1989, 1990. They said, can we license the master? And I've just been through all the boxes of DATs I've got, and we haven't got it because it was the first track I'd ever mixed. So the DAT probably got sent off to the people who commissioned it. So I don't have the master. So that's me thinking, okay, well, so backup is an issue, and I think, what do we do? So I think what we're going to have to do is find a CD of that and rip the CD, maybe tweak it. And that's the best we could do, because I don't have the DAT anymore. So, and even that, I don't even have a DAT that plays, but so maybe if there's a cheap DAT on Black Friday deals, I might buy one. But I've got a big box of DNA DATs down here with the greatest hits on it, and that I just, including
Amazing.
S1000 memory discs. But that's sort of my life's creative work. So I don't know what I'll be looking for. I mean, there are things, most of the things that I'm really interested in are quite modern. People have been joking in the chat room, maybe an OPXY will be on Black Friday, and no, they probably won't. I really like the look of the Rode video switcher. That probably won't either, so I'm not going to get that stuff. Paulie, so sorry, Black Friday,
okay.
what's your take?
Plugins, I think plugins are a good idea because, firstly, it's not particularly difficult. Like, they send me the emails, so I don't have to spend much time looking, for deals or anything. Although I will say, if you put certain things into Google, it does show up in green, the ones that are discounted currently. But yeah, really, I might buy a couple of Waves plugins that are cheap, basically. Kind of
right.
like Matt said, kind of mastery stuff or useful. I want to see if, like, I've got an older version of iZotope RX, so I want to see if like the newer versions are discounted and things like that. So I will probably look. Yeah, I do make sense sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, just a quick one for you. If you're working in DaVinci Resolve, if you've got the Pro version, the studio version, that has really good dialogue processing, sort of one-button stuff that will get rid of reverb. I was using it recently I used it at the ADC footage that I shot, and you just turn, and that'll be probably a Black Friday. That's only 200 quid anyway. It's really very, very well worth buying, and it's got really good. So I just turn... So I used it on the ADC footage. We were already using sort of, I think I had a couple of Omni, I had a Rode here, and it was very noisy, and I turned it up so the voice was basically isolated. You couldn't hear the background, but it sounded really weird because it was in a room full of people. So I backed it off so that the voice just came into focus slightly more. There are some really good tools in that. I mean, even tools in the free version, but the dialogue processor, I think there's de-reverb, there's all sorts of stuff. And if you haven't bought it yet, it's worth keeping an eye out for these deals, because sometimes you can get like the edit controller, all kinds of stuff. It's really it's a very, very good program. Very good program.
Great point
for
about
sort of
Resolve. If they have any deals on, I probably would jump on that, because I love Resolve. It's like amazing. It's the best video program I've ever used.
There's unfortunately nothing Black Friday. It's 235 quid to buy online the DaVinci Resolve Studio.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on,
not,
Black Magic.
it's not
There's a little bit
expensive.
off that, and there's 2 people here
Give
who's
us
going to buy
100
it.
off.
Surely that's
Yeah,
worth it.
definitely.
That's another crazy bargain, because that, just like Logic and Final Cut Pro, that is a license that's good forever. I got a
Yes.
Yep.
DaVinci Resolve license when I bought my first Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I don't know,
Yes.
5 years ago, and it's still, I get updates all the time. But if you're just doing vocal stuff, if you have Final Cut Pro, that has the sort of the space removal tools built into Final Cut Pro as well. And I think if you're doing something, just using it for something like that, it's a lot faster to use Final Cut Pro than it is DaVinci, which I think is quite a beast of a DAW. There is some amazing stuff that DaVinci does, but I think doing things quickly is not how I would describe it.
I don't know. I think, I'm sorry, Richard, I think we're going to have some kind of a head-to-head here. How quickly can you?
Oh my God.
Because I would disagree. I think it
divisive, but
well, I mean, one thing I will say, actually, joking aside, what I usually do if I'm editing any long form video that's got multiple cameras, I edit to what I want, to the dialogue first, and then I worry about the other stuff later. So I cut it, or I do one sort of like, does it now? It makes more sense. Pass. Then I'll worry about the cameras.
Makes
But
sense.
I would describe. I think the audio. I think it's very fast. I think the thing is Final Cut. It depends which because they're different workflows. Final Cut has a timeline that moves under the playhead, so the playhead is fixed. Resolve has a moving playhead. Resolve have just basically added a feature, I think, in the latest version. Sorry, this isn't very audio, but I've just added a feature in the latest version, 19.1, where you can have it do that behavior. And you can set where you want the playhead to be. It could be in the middle of the screen. It could be to the side.
That's cool.
So it's just different ways that things are selected and things that move. So
the color grading in Resolve.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I've done color grading before and stuff, but wow,
it's a lot of
can't
fun.
get my head around that. Can't get very good results with it at all. I kind of have to ship it in something else. Yeah. I need a lesson on it. Anyone out there?
Honestly, there's so much stuff out there on the web of people doing it. So anyway, we won't go on about it too much. It feels like we're probably ending towards the end of the show. But yeah, Black Friday's coming. I mean, I'll probably try and get a live blog together and do something on it. And we'll see how we go. But I'm sure there will be bargains. And it does seem to extend for a long period. So it's quite often if you missed it, you sort of didn't miss it because it goes on a little bit longer. I'm just trying to think if there's anything that I need to... hold on. There's something. Do I need? What's coming up? I'm just seeing if there's anything that I had to mention. Oh yeah, don't forget. Yeah, Paulee's Lewitt Ray microphone review and Matt's stream after this 5:30. The Booze gig. Do check that out as well. And vote on the.
I think
Gaz has got a guest on.
Shakespeare tonight.
Finley Shakespeare on the Gaz Williams show. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, tonight.
Excellent. I think I've got that one. I can press. That's the Boo gig in London. There was something else I had as well. What was it? I'm just trying to find it now. Sonicstate on BlueSky. I think I can paste that as well. That link goes in. Yeah, I'm trying to do everything. Somebody's cough, 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 cough. What's happening? Anyway, okay. I think there's Derby EMOM is tomorrow as well. So if you're in the vicinity or online, watch that too. There was something else.
Nick,
I'm trying to find. Yes.
While you're trying to remember, I'm apprehensive to ask this, but I'm going to ask it because we're getting near Christmas. Are we doing a Sonicstate Christmas quiz this year, or maybe no? I
think not. Just because. The amount of work it took. What we're probably going to do is we've been doing the Gear of the Year awards, one a week, and there's one at the moment now for the vote your favourite Eurorack or modular. We're on round 5. The idea is we'll then have a show at the end where we'll bring all of the results together and have a discussion about that. That's what I was planning on doing, because we discussed the quiz and we all went, oh, God, that was a lot of work. And not only that, it was all the back end that ran it, which while it was great when it worked, was a really heavy lift, and I think maybe not this time, but maybe we'll do one next year, or think of another way to do a quiz that's not quite. I'm not being quite so. Man in shed and too over detailed about how the marking and everything works, because it was great fun, but it was hard work. So possibly not. I'm afraid.
There is a Boocast Xmas quiz this year apparently. So
excellent.
So maybe everyone will head to that.
Yes, that sounds great. What date is that? They did mention it actually. I
just saw it in the chat. So not sure. But there we go. So there will be a quiz over that way with the Boo guys.
Excellent. Okay, well, thanks everybody for listening. Thank you very much for all of you folks in the chat room. Lovely to see you all. Really nice. So we'll look forward to. Maybe what we can do is come on. I'll just join the Boo quiz. They could do it, and I'll
just
enter or something.
Gate crash.
Gate crash. Anyway, thanks, folks. Very much appreciated. Of course, we've still got a few more shows before we get to the end of the year, and I hope you're all staying warm. It's very chilly here now, and it's probably freezing in Pittsburgh, but right here it's the first bit of ice we've had for a while, so watch out on those slippery pavements, folks. That's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye now.